You're in a conflict and suddenly silence. No texts, no words, just nothing. It's like you're talking to a ghost. Whether it's your parent, partner, best friend, or coworker, the silent treatment isn't just frustrating, it can be manipulative, even emotionally abusive. Today, I'm breaking down why people do it, how it messes with your brain, and what you can do instead of spiraling. Because begging for scraps of communication, that's not connection, and you deserve better than that. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the podcast. You know who I am. It's wonderful to have you here. And the silent treatment, this came up a lot in my Substack community. A few people asked for this, and the One Love Collective, which we have on Substack, and they get priority. You know, when you're in the community, you get a little priority. So let's get to it. What is the silent treatment? Let's just define it first. So the silent treatment I define as an intentional refusal to speak, respond, or engage with another person. It often happens in the context, of course, of a disagreement or some kind of emotional upset. And it's not just used to punish. I know a lot of people just think of that, but it's also it can be used just to punish, but also it's used for control, and it's definitely used for avoidance. I think avoidance is the biggie. So in psychology, this behavior is classified under the broader category of ostracism. Okay, so that's when I'm looking at the research and everything. That's what I'm looking at, this sort of broader category. And when you're ostracized or ostracism, research has shown it activates the same part of the brain that registers physical pain. Yeah, that's why it hurts so much. That's why it's so painful. But here's the key difference. Because sometimes people say, well, I was just, taking space or something. But taking space during conflict to calm down, that's healthy, right? That's a healthy thing. Communicating though, hey, I need a little time, and I'll come back when I can talk more respectfully. That's not the silent treatment. The silent treatment is silence with no clarity, no boundaries, and often no end in sight. It's not a strategy. It's more of a power play. And again, I'm not saying it's because the other person is like trying to hurt you or trying to be manipulative. I think again, it's always from someone who has lower emotional intelligence, like they just aren't highly emotionally intelligent in this way, or they would be able to talk to you directly. But it is a power play. And again, I'm not saying the person is consciously doing it. I think it's likely it's an unconscious reaction that that maybe they even see that they do it, but they don't really understand it. And I was in a long-term relationship with someone who did this a lot. That would like this is an area close to my heart. This was their number one way of dealing anytime that they were upset. And they didn't get upset often, but when they did, this was how it came across. So why do people use the silent treatment? What is it? So, and the reasons can vary, obviously, depending on the person, the relationship, the situation. But let's call it like this. Let me just say this: whether intentional or unconscious, the silent treatment is definitely a dysfunctional communication tactic. Again, it can stem from fear. I think always poor coping skills or a need for control. Those are the biggies. So let's talk about the five. I think there's five common drivers behind this behavior. And I'm going to give you some real life examples you might recognize also. Okay. So number one is to punish or control. And that's at its most toxic. The silent treatment is really, it's a weapon. The person withdrawing wants you to feel bad, wants you to feel unsure or desperate for their attention. And their silence becomes a form of punishment, really what I call emotional blackmail. So an example, this would be, let me think of a good example. You bring up feeling neglected in the relationship, right? You say, hey, I've been feeling neglected. And instead of responding, your partner or your friend, whoever it is, gives you the cold shoulder for days. No texts, no eye contact, and certainly no conversation about it. The unspoken message is, how dare you criticize me? Now you'll suffer. This is really, to me, about power. Their silence becomes the leash that keeps you anxious and chasing, right? The second reason I see a lot is because they feel emotionally overwhelmed. I think this is really common. For some, again, silence isn't about hurting you, it's about shutting down. They get emotionally flooded and they don't have the capacity to stay present. They go into what we call hypoarousal. They just get like numb. The problem is they don't tell you that. So their silence still lands like a punishment, right? So you might confront a sibling about a family issue and they go quiet, not just in that moment, but for a full week. And when they finally respond, they say, I just didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know what to say to you. And if someone regularly disappears when something gets uncomfortable, that's not emotional intelligence, that's avoidance. And it leaves you obviously holding kind of the emotional bag, right? Which is a problem. The third thing I see is people do this, they give the silent treatment to avoid saying the wrong thing. Sometimes people go silent because they think it's safer than speaking up and making things worse. But instead of owning that or naming their fear, they just vanish emotionally. So you might have a coworker, maybe they make a mistake and you bring it up calmly, right? Really calmly. Hey Joe, this report is wrong on the, X, Y, and Z aren't right. And they stop responding to your emails or Slack messages, right? When you finally get them on a call, they say, oh, I figured you were mad and I didn't want to say anything to make it worse or something like that. This kind of silence often comes, of course, from insecurity. But again, the impact is the same. You're left feeling ghosted. Even if their intent wasn't to hurt you, it doesn't matter, right? You still feel that way. Number four, the fourth reason is, and I think it's the most obvious, it's because it's what they learned growing up. People don't come up with these behaviors out of nowhere. If someone was raised in a home where conflicts were met with just stone cold silence or days of timeouts with no explanation, then the pattern can feel normal to them. So, you're trying to think, your romantic partner might refuse to talk to you after an argument. And when you ask why they won't engage, they say, this is, how my parents handled things. They needed space. It always worked itself out. But what they're calling normal might be emotionally unsafe for you, right? Learned behavior isn't an excuse to avoid accountability, but people can use it as such. And that brings me to number 5, which is to avoid accountability. That's another reason that people use the silent treatment, because it's a really sneaky way to dodge hard conversations, to dodge responsibilities, consequences, right? Rather than own their behavior or repair the rupture with you, they just disappear. So an example of this might be a friend. Let me think. Your friend cancels plans last minute for the third time, and you say that you're feeling hurt. And then nothing, like radio silence. They just don't respond. And this obviously puts you in a bind. You either drop it or push harder, which then makes you look like the dramatic one. So, and meanwhile, they get to pretend nothing happened, right? Do you see? I know, it's very effective. So let's talk about what the silent treatment does to you. Okay. I don't want to gloss over this. The silent treatment is psychologically damaging. It creates anxiety and hypervigilance, right? It creates feelings of unworthiness or abandonment, obsessive thinking. What did I do wrong? Repetitive thinking. What did I do? What did I do? I shouldn't have said that. Usually on the other side, there's a cycle of people pleasing to like get them back. There's a lot of psychological stress. So you got increased cortisol, things like that, adrenaline, whatever. And the longer it lasts, the more it erodes your sense of safety and connection. So this isn't just about conflict. This is about your nervous system learning that love equals uncertainty and punishment. And again, you might have grown up with some of this. So it's feeling comfortable in your current relationships, but it shouldn't. We don't want it to. So let's talk about what to do if you're getting the silent treatment. Because that's the real question, right? How do you respond without losing your power or playing some kind of game with them? Because that's not what we're trying to do. And I'm going to talk about 5 strategies for dealing with the silent treatment. But before I do that, I just want to let you know that the free download for today is what to say when you're getting the silent treatment, 7 boundary scripts that keep you calm, clear, and in control. So if this is, I'll mention that again towards the end, but if you're like, oh my God, the silent treatment is a thing and I never know what to say, that's why I created that. I was trying to think of something that would really help you, very nitty gritty. But anyway, okay. So let's talk about the 5 ways. Number 1 is to regulate before you engage. I say this a lot, no matter what the thing is that's going on, right? I always say, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Before you fire off a "why are you ignoring me" text or launch into panic mode, I want you to pause. Just pause. The silent treatment, it really triggers our rejection sensitivity, especially if you have any unresolved attachment wounds, right? If you're insecurely attached in any way, you've got any of that going on, if this is something from your childhood, your body interprets their silence as danger, not just disrespect. So what you can try, so try this. I always want to give you tips along. So do a double inhale with a long, slow exhale. This will absolutely reset your physiological arousal and help you relax. So a double inhale as you breathe in, and then at the very top, you take another sip kind of air. So, and then like a final, and then very slow exhale through your mouth. It's incredible. There's almost nothing more effective to reset your nervous system than a double inhale. I just want to say that just in and of itself, whenever you're feeling anxious or whatever, do a double inhale. Again, all the way in as much as you can. And then a last little at the very end, a little sip at the end of air, and then a long, slow exhale will really, your vagus nerve will turn on, your parasympathetic nervous system. It'll really help you reset. And then I would say out loud, if you can, or at least in your head, their silence is about them. I don't need to fix it. So again, this works because it calms your nervous system so you can respond, not react, right? You can act, not react. That's what we're doing here. The second thing to do is name it calmly and clearly. You are not responsible for someone's silence, but you can name the pattern and set the tone for some sort of healthy dialogue. So for this, I would say try this. Say, I noticed you haven't responded. If you need space, that's okay. But silence without communication feels hurtful. I'm open to talking when you're ready to be respectful. So please let me know. And this works because you're not attacking, you're describing, you're setting a boundary, you're offering a pathway forward. And this can really help people who get stuck and scared in the fear cycle. All right. Number 3 is don't chase or beg. The moment you start over explaining, apologizing for things you haven't done, or triple texting, you give away your power. And it reinforces their belief that silence gets them what they want. So instead, I want you to try saying something just once, like, I want to repair this when you're ready to talk openly. Until then, I'm going to take space too. And then stop reaching out. Let your boundary speak louder than your words. Just do it. And this works because you're keeping your own peace of mind and finding your own control in the situation, right? Those are one and the same. Finding your own control and your peace of mind, same thing. Number 4, set a real boundary. This isn't about threatening. There's no threats. It's about honoring your limits. If the silent treatment happens often, it's time to create change. So try this. Say something like, I need a relationship where we can work through issues with communication, not silence. If this continues, I'll need to reconsider how I engage moving forward. And that might mean for you, don't say this out loud, but for you, that might mean limiting contact, pulling back emotionally, pausing certain plans. Again, you're not punishing them. Remember, boundaries aren't about a consequence they get. It's about a response you're having to their actions. You're protecting yourself, and that's where this comes from. It comes from love of self. And this works because you're setting a real boundary, because there's a response from you if this behavior continues. And that creates accountability on both sides. You're not just sort of waiting around, right? Okay, hold on, use of water. Number 5. So the fifth one, last one, is to practice self-validation. So I think the most insidious part of the silent treatment is really how it erodes your sense of self, right? You start asking, what did I do? Instead of asking, why are they responding this way? So to put this one into action, I would try a journal prompt, like something like, when they go silent, what do I start believing about myself? Or where did I learn that being ignored means I'm unworthy? And then remind yourself you are lovable even when someone else can't or won't show up. And this works because it helps you reconnect with yourself and, again, come from love, not fear. Now let's talk when it's emotional abuse, because this is an important distinction. So when the silent treatment is chronic, intentional, and part of a larger pattern of manipulation, it becomes emotional abuse. I would say, especially if it happens often and lasts for days or weeks, if it's used to control or punish you, if it makes you question your reality or feel crazy, if you feel like you're always the one repairing. If any of that sounds familiar, you're not overreacting, you're seeing the truth. And abuse is not always loud. Sometimes it's really silent. And if this is the case, it's really time to ask yourself why you're allowing ongoing emotional abuse in your relationship and what boundaries you're willing to put in place moving forward. And I would say, if this is the case, that professional help is likely needed at this point, because you've been in it for this long, right? I'm going to say that with love, but clearly there's a reason you've stayed this long. You have to stop blaming them, have to start complaining about it, and start taking ownership and accountability for why you've allowed this for however many months or years in this relationship. What do I want? So to wrap up, I want to say this: silence isn't necessarily golden. The silent treatment, I think, can sometimes look like nothing, but I believe it says everything. It communicates rejection, control, avoidance, and healthy relationships really require repair, not retreat. And you deserve clear communication, not mind games, not someone who can't come meet you where you are. You deserve someone who says, I need space, but I'll come back and we'll work it out. Not someone who disappears and makes you question your worth or whatever. So next time someone tries to punish you with silence, choose your voice, choose your peace, choose your dignity. If you've been nodding your head for the last 30 minutes, by the way, and thinking how you relate to everything I just discussed, then I'm going to remind you to get the free download today. I've been trying really hard in season 8 to make all the free downloads really specific to the episodes and really like an extension of whatever you learned on the episode to take it a step farther. So again, the free download today is what to say when you're getting the silent treatment, 7 boundary scripts that keep you calm, clear, and in control. And of course, I'm going to suggest that if you want to go deeper, you want to get the therapy to go bundle for today's episode, which includes that. You don't have to download the free download and the bundle. If you get the bundle, it comes in it. And I have a guided visualization with this bundle this week. I've got a lot in this bundle. So I'm just going to go over the bundle. If you don't care about that, you can sign off now. But if you want to hear what's in it, and again, my One Love Collective gets this included. The bundles are $10. It's standing on their own. If you want to be in the One Love Collective, it's $8 a month, and you get every bundle from every episode that month, plus free live Q&As with me, or included, not free because you're paying the $8, but live Q&As with me twice a month, plus the ongoing chat and access to me in there. I mean, there's a lot for the $8. But so the Therapy to Go bundle has a boundary rehearsal worksheet. I call it like say the thing without the spiral. It's like a fill in the blank script builder to help you really speak up with clarity and not panic. Again, there's a guided visualization with my melodic voice. I call it standing in the silence without shrinking. Figuring out your place. There's journaling prompts that go with this. There's a reflection tool when I go silent too. If you use if you use the silent treatment yourself, it's like a self-inquiry guide to explore how and why you withdraw during conflict. There are self-talk reframes. There's like 10 mindset shifts to help you stay grounded when someone shuts you out. There's a silent treatment self-check. Is this healthy silence or emotional control? Help you kind of discern that. All of that is in the Therapy to Go bundle. But whether you get that or not, I really hope today's episode was helpful. I'm trying to be so sort of specific in season 8, really get right to what I think are the big issues and, all the reasons why and the background and all that I always do, while really trying my best to help you move forward, right? To take the learning to the next level. So I hope you can do that. I hope today was helpful for you. As always, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It really helps more people find me. I'd love a comment under the video. I'd love to say hi to you too. And if you're not signed up for my love letter, I don't know what you're waiting for. You can find that on the website. I send out twice a month. I call it Love Bites, these little, inspirational stories just to try to help you feel good in the world, help you think differently. I do not sell anything. There's not an ulterior motive here. It is just meant to help you. If you like it, if you think it's great, you can pay to get it every week, but there's not going to be 90 emails coming at you or any. I know these days it's hard to believe, but I really don't. I don't do anything I hate. And I hate getting a bunch of emails when I sign up for something. So I don't do that. And I think that's it. All right. Have an amazing week. I love you so much. Really happy you're here. So grateful that I'm doing this in my 8th year. I just can't believe it. And I'll talk to you real soon.